Yeah. So, is it possible to flip a negative to a positive? Indeed, it is. It's called spiritual judo. Like judo, know what to do with the lemons. Lemons are useful. So let's say we have a lot of energy. If we have a lot of energy, we can choose to be anxious, nervous, panic. There's a lot of stuff there. That's a whole ball of wax. That's not too good for a person, for the psyche, for the soul, for the spirit, for the body. But if we choose to use that energy and harness it and use it for good, well, then we can take that energy and we can read the Bible with passion and become excellent students. And then we can joyfully obey God's commands so we're not just people that are learning, but we're also obeying.
All right. Hello, world.
There goes small face. Right, Ryder? There goes small face. Oh, check this out. What does that say, Ryder? It's not upside down, it's backwards. What do you think it says? It says, love builds a happy home. Yeah. So if we're gonna think that love builds a happy home, hey, how's it going? I'm from California, Southern, and grew up surfing and reading the Bible, and then sharing the Bible with people in Israel and in other countries as well. Kentucky, how's it going? I have a friend in Tennessee, I think Western Tennessee, and he's a nice guy. His name's Billy. William, Billy, Bill. Anyway, he's got some nice cats, just like me. I also have some cool cats. And so that's something we have in common, in addition to loving the Bible, reading the Bible, loving the Bible, and loving to live your life according to godly wisdom. It helps you to not suck at life. It also helps you to appreciate what you have, to use your time and gifts for God's glory and for your benefit temporarily and eternally. It's a win-win situation for God's righteous children. So, how do we turn negatives into a positive? Well, a lot of times you just step away because you're up too close and you're all, messed up with your thoughts and your emotions are getting involved and the devil is jumping in and capitalizing, and this opportunity that he can, he's doing his job. So he comes in and he tries to throw some, kinks in the gears so as to mess you up. But that's just his job. Your job is to resist the devil so the devil runs away. He runs away like a scared little cockroach. When the light comes on, what do the cockroaches do? They scurry. They scurry away. They scatter real fast. And so that's what the cockroaches do. That's also what the devil does when God's light and power and truth and righteousness come into a situation. God sends his blessed holy angel armies from the third heaven, which are superior to the fallen angels in the second heaven, and light drives out darkness, perfect love casts out fear, goodness overcomes evil, and God's favor, his kesed, that is the Hebrew word for favor or grace, superabounds over sin. And so God destroyed death and hell, And those who abide and remain in the Son of God abide and remain in the heart of the Father of lights, right? The great Father of lights who made us. We are his offspring. Paul the Apostle was speaking to the Greeks, which were thinkers, and they suffered him for a while until he spoke about the resurrection, and then they started laughing. There were some people that wanted to talk to him afterwards, just like the Pharisees. Most of them did not want to agree with or believe in the Son of God when he was speaking, but there were a few, Nicodemus and a handful of others, that knew who he was, who he said he was. Most of the common people in this world, back in the days that the Son of God was ministering, the tax collectors, the prostitutes, the fishermen, just all these simple people, when he came into proximity with them, he would tell some of them to follow him, and they would, because they could see that he was someone that spoke the truth straight from the Torah, right? Straight from what did he say? He said he came to fulfill the law and the prophets. So everything that he told Moses and the prophets, he fulfilled. So it's natural and appropriate to say God is love. That's right. Read the Bible and obey. I love that title, Read the Bible and Obey. You can't say it any better than that. Solomon, who was wise when he was young, was even wiser when he was old. And his message to all human beings when he was his wisest, when he was older, fear God's name and obey his commands. That means if you open up your heart and you open up the Bible and you ask God for help and you spend time in prayer and you're praying for the things that you know that are pleasing and acceptable to him so that you can be a servant, someone that washes people's feet, somebody that opens doors for people, somebody that seeks your joy and the good value and quality of what life is supposed to be in accordance with what God commands a person to desire, right? God gives you the desires of your heart and you enjoy them when the desires of your heart are the desires of God's heart. God has absolutely no problem, and in addition to having no problem, he loves to overflow a person with God's goodness. He loves to bless people. He loves to help people to cherish him and to respect his name and to obey his commands, because when they're doing all those things, then he's blessing them more than they even want to be blessed. And then it is the obligation of a person being blessed so much to continually ask God to remain humble in heart and joyfully exercise this childlike faith, this most holy faith, so they can remain priests and kings and at the feet of other people and being a servant to people in a way that is pleasing and acceptable to God. Not in self-righteousness, not in following a false Messiah. If you're saying that the Messiah is okay with, being gay, or you're following a Messiah that is saying that it's okay to, I don't know. There's a lot of things that God is not okay with. Here's the thing. You got a guy who is praying and he's beating on his chest and he won't even look up and he's saying, God, be patient with me, I'm a sinner. And you got another guy who's a religious dude and he's saying, God, I thank you that I'm not like that guy over there. And I do all these things that I'm supposed to do, that I've been taught to do. And, I know the Bible very well, and I do all the things in accordance with such and such and such and such. But you see, the Lord said the guy that was beating on his chest is walking away justified in his time of prayer, and the other guy's not. Why? Because if you're godly on the outside, but not on the inside, then God sees your heart, and he knows that it's just it's a sham. It's a farce. It's a ruse. It's a charade. It's bogus. It means nothing. Superstition and traditions without true love, without pure love, without what is right and good and wholesome and pure and clean and pleasing and acceptable to God, if it doesn't have anything to do with those things, and it's all just on the outside, if it's superficial, God knows. And who are you fooling? Are you fooling yourself? Are you fooling other people? Are people fooling themselves? I mean, you got a lot of people in the world that are religious but have no connection with their Creator. And what's at the end of that road? God says at the end of that road, it's death and hell. But you see, God conquered death and hell and gave everlasting life to people that are pure in heart with clean hands. And, none of us are without sin. Our obligation and our mandate and our order is to do our best not to do the evil that we're commanded not to do. And in addition to that, to deny ourselves, pick up our cross, follow the Lord, and do that which is right and good in His sight. That is our order. That is our mandate. That is our commission. And so as we open up our heart and open up the Bible and we open up in prayer and we continue to be submissive and subordinate and surrendered to the will of God, to the ways and works of the Lord, then and only then are we getting somewhere. Are we maturing? Are we graduating from the milk and turning to the meat? And then as we go through pains and afflictions and sufferings and all sorts of things, we learn more, we mature more, and we become more profitable and better teachers to those who are learning what it means to honor God, to obey His commands, to fear His name, and to be orderly. The word shalom comes from the word shalem, which means wholeness, meaning not fragmented, not disorderly, not chaotic. So it doesn't really take much. Honestly, the Lord is not looking for us to jump through fiery hoops, but just to open up our hearts, open up the Bible, open up in prayer, ask for help, receive help, and do the things that He's showing us to do. It's very easy. And that's why He says that we need to humble our hearts as little children and just do the little things that He's telling us to do. He's not really asking for a whole lot on one hand, but on the other hand, to actually understand what He's telling us to do and to do what He's telling us to do. It can be daunting and overwhelming, but as we just take it day by day, then in that respect, it's actually not that hard at all. And it's quite awesome and enjoyable and fun. So with that, we will close. But let us remember that it is very easy to turn a negative into a positive. It is very easy to see from a different perspective. Whatever it is that we lack, we can ask God for help, and He can give us what we're asking for so that we can see with His eyes and we can see people's hearts as best as we're able to understand what's going on in their lives, and so that God's Spirit can minister through us to them, that they might receive correction, direction, and instruction, just as we receive correction, direction, and instruction, that they might receive some inspiration and encouragement, as we have received inspiration and encouragement from our Creator, the God of Israel, the King of the universe. God is all-powerful, that is true, and He is very good, and His mercy endures forever. So shalom and Godspeed to the obedient household of the Lord, God of Israel, King of the universe, and to all shalom.